Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. A close friend of mine asked me maybe a few days ago, what if we are not the true bloodline of Jacob, of Israel? If so, would it make a difference? And I had to think about it because that's kind of like a loaded question, right? That's a two-part question. My response was yes and no. So I'll start with why, yes, it would make a difference. If we are not the true bloodline of Yashral, who are we? When we think about Black history and how Black history literally starts with slavery, and it does not go back further than that. It does not. What we learn in school is that Black history started with slavery, with Christopher Columbus going to Africa, bringing our ancestors over here, and then goes push forward through the history of the United States. But what about before then? Who are we? One thing I can tell you we're not is that we are not African.
I also know that the people who are occupying the country of Israel are not the bloodline of Israel.
Those who are called African American or Black Americans, we are not African. And I say that because, yes, we may have the same skin color as those who are in Africa. If you look at our facial features, our bone structure, and the way our bodies are built, we are not the same. We might be cousins, we might be cousins because we know that Hamites are African, but we're not African. So if we're not of the bloodline, who are we? Did we just appear out of nowhere, out of thin air? Who are we? If not of the tribe of Judah or any other tribe, not of Yasharal. How do we know that? So that is why I say yes, it would make a difference because then what is our history? We are the only group of people that I think walking this earth who truly do not know our history. And that is something that I have known for a long time. Even learning about Black history in school, I always wondered, like, okay, well, before slavery, before we brought over here, who were we? Where did we come from? Where? Nobody can answer that. So the other part of my response is no, it would not make a difference, even if we are not of Yasharal. And I say that because when Yasharal left Egypt, it was not just the bloodline who left. And let me just insert this here. The majority of the bloodline stayed in Egypt. Not all of them left. I think we have this huge misconception that all of Yasharal left Egypt. They did not. Many of them stayed. And you can tell by like how they complained as they were in the wilderness, like we should have stayed back in Egypt. You brought us out here to die. Like for what? We could have died back in Egypt. So a great many of them stayed. But on top of that, a mixed multitude left Egypt. And that doesn't just mean the bloodline and maybe some Egyptians. It means whoever was living in Egypt, whatever nations were living there, they all became Yashua. Even though they weren't the bloodline, they all became Yashua. A mixed multitude of people left Egypt. For all I know, I could be Egyptian because we all know that Egyptians do not look like the fair skinned people of today. Egyptians were dark skinned. We know this for a fact. As vain as the Egyptians were, they kept track of their people on the walls, on the caves. And what color were they? My color, maybe even darker. Not only that, I could be of any of the other nations that went with Yashral into the wilderness. I could be of any of them. There's no telling who I could be. So that's why I say it doesn't really make a difference because even if I am not of the bloodline, I could be of the mixed multitude. I could be whoever. You know, I'm still following what the word says. In this book, I have my Bible open. In this book, I am following what it says. I am following the law. And that is something else to take note of is that when Yahuwah gave Moses the law, he included the resident aliens. They are now Yahshua. They are a part of them. Therefore, they are to follow the laws, statutes, and commandments as well. It's not just the bloodline. So No, it would not make a difference. It's something that my son and I read last night. We were reading Joshua chapter 9, and it says in the very last verse, there was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read before the entire assembly of Israel, including the women, the dependents, and the resident aliens who lived among them. For all we know, many of us can be a part of the resident aliens. Now, granted, that is not to say that Yashral did not mix with the resident aliens. That is not at all to say that, because again, they're now Yashral, so therefore, we could possibly now be of the bloodline. We don't know that. You do not know that. And even when they crossed over the Jordan and they were given their respective lands, the resident aliens lived among them, amongst all 12 tribes. So again, they're still a part of them. And on top of that, the resident aliens could have been, I guess, bred out the more that they mixed with Yashua. I don't know. All I know is that yes and no wouldn't make a difference, but mainly no. Mainly no, it would not make a difference because at the end of the day, I'm still following what Yahuwah said in the Torah, and that's that on that. That's my question now to you all. What if you are not of the bloodline of Yasharal? And would it make a difference